So today we are doing day 3 area and perimeter of the coordinate plane. The first thing we're going to do is graph these points. So -3, 3, 5, -2, and C is -3, -2. If you draw these, you'll notice that it makes a right triangle. To find area and perimeter, if you have any lines that are straight vertical or horizontal lines, you can just go ahead and count the boxes versus using the distance formula or Pythagorean theorem. The distance from A to C, we could use that, or let's just count our boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this has a length of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This has a length of 8. To find the distance from A to B, you can use the distance formula or you can use Pythagorean theorem. I'm going to use the distance formula to find AB, just so in other problems I understand that you can use this on all of them even if it's not a right triangle. And the distance formula comes from Pythagorean theorem, which is why we can use either one. So let's see, 5 minus -3 gives me a +3. And our y is -2 minus 3 squared. You can leave your answer in square root form, but most likely it's easier to do this if it's in decimal form. So the square root of 89 comes out to 9.43. On all this, we're always going to round to the nearest hundredth, just because it makes it more accurate. So perimeter is adding up all our sides. If we take 5 plus 8 plus 9.43, you'll get a total perimeter of 22.43. The area formula for a triangle is 1/2 base times height. In all our pictures, remember, the base and the height are located at the 90-degree corner. In a right triangle, it should be kind of easy to see where that right angle would be. I'm going to use 1/2, my base of 8, and a height of 5. So my area for this one is 20. The next question has us do a triangle. Again, this time we'll graph our point. -3, -3 is D, 0, 2 is E, and 6, -3 is F. When I draw these lines to make this triangle, it does not come out to a right triangle. So we have to look to see where we could draw the height in this triangle. So the height is going to be from a point and make a 90-degree corner. So I'm going to draw that the height from E, if you draw perpendicular straight down, that will be the height inside our triangle. So you have to look from a point and make a 90-degree corner. Let's go ahead and do perimeter first. If I count from D to F, because it's a horizontal line, that length is 9. So the length of the base is going to be 9. To find DE and EF, this is where we're going to either use Pythagorean theorem or distance formula, whichever one you prefer. I'm going to use the distance formula from D to E, since I have these points right here. 0 minus negative makes +3 squared. And then 2 minus negative makes +3 squared. So the distance from D to E, when you square root this, you get 5.83. My distance from E to F, again I'm using the distance formula. Take your x's, so 6 minus 0 squared, plus -3 minus 2 squared. Doesn't matter whether I start with E or I start with F, the main thing is subtract the x's and subtract the y's. This one should come out with 7.81. So the perimeter would be adding these three numbers, 9 plus 5.83 plus 7.81 equals a total perimeter of 22.64. The area of the triangle is 1/2 base times height. So our base for this is 9, and our height, we just need to count these boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a height of 5. So our area, when you multiply all that together, is 22.5. The next one, this one is just 4 points. We have a rectangle instead. Some properties of a rectangle: we know opposite sides are congruent, and we know that all the corners are 90 degrees, so we have perpendicular lines. Let's go ahead and graph. Negative 9, 1 is W. Negative 3, 5 is X. Negative 1, 2 is Y. And negative 7, negative 2 is Z. I'm going to draw my rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and find perimeter first. Because we know opposite sides are congruent, I'm only going to find WX and XY. Basically my long side and my short side, and then I can add them and double it. So WX, I have negative 3 plus 9 squared. It was minus a negative again. On the Y's, I have 5 minus 1 squared. Type that in my calculator, and I found the length of WX is about 7.21. XY, I can take negative 1 minus negative 3, so that becomes plus 3 squared. Then I do my Y's. 2 minus 5 squared. And enter that in, and we get square root of 3.61. So the perimeter is just taking twice that amount. 7.21 plus 3.61. I'm doubling it because we technically have 4 sides of those. So I got 21.64 for my perimeter. Area equals base times height in a rectangle. Since we know the corners are where the 90 degrees are, this is our 90 degrees, then our base would just be 7.21 times 3.61. That gives us a total of 26.03 for our area. On the back, we have a parallelogram. So let's graph this. R is at negative 3, 4. S is at 5, 4. T is at 7, 1. And U is at negative 1, 1. So here's our parallelogram. Perimeter, we can just count the boxes from R to S, or U to T, to figure out how long that side is. So I found this length is 8. Okay. To figure out the diagonal lengths, we need to use, like I said, Pythagorean theorem or distance formula. I'm going to say, using the distance formula, I'm going to find ST. So 7 minus 5 squared plus my y values would be 1 minus 4 squared. So the length of the shorter leg comes out to square root of 13, which is the same as about 3.61. So when I'm finding perimeter, I would be adding 8 plus 3.61, and you can do that again, plus 8 plus 3.61, or just take that answer times 2, because I know the opposite sides are congruent in a parallelogram. So I have a total of 23.22 for perimeter. area shapes like this, it doesn't have a 90 degrees. You have to draw in a 90 degree somewhere. The most logical place for the height is going to be from the top to the bottom. So, or you can even have it on the outside. I'm going to draw it right here from S. I'm going to draw a line straight down, so that makes a 90 degree corner. This is our height inside parallelogram. A rectangle and parallelogram have the same formula. It's just base times height. The base and height are where the 90 degree corners meet. So for this one, my base is 8, and my height, let's count, 1, 2, 3. We have a height of 3. So 8 times 3, the area is going to be 24. Okay, we have one last one to do. This is a shape where you have different ways to cut this apart. You can draw in lines to make rectangles, trapezoids, triangles. What I chose to do on this one is I made one kind of big rectangle here. So I drew this line here and this line here to add that in, so now I have a rectangle, a triangle, and a triangle. When you're trying to decide your shapes, you want to make sure that you can fit a right angle somewhere in the picture so that you can have a height and a base to your pictures. Whether it's a trapezoid or a rectangle or a triangle or parallelogram, we need to have somewhere to have a height and a base. So I'm going to start off with my rectangle. I can just count around. This would be 3. If I want to do perimeter on this side, this is 2. The length from here to here. So to figure out how long that whole side is, the whole side is 7. But then for perimeter, I have these 2 diagonal lines here. So I'm going to use just Pythagorean theorem to find the distance of this diagonal line. This would be 1 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. So 1, that comes out to 9, so c equals the square root of 10, which is about 3.16. Okay. Then this triangle down here, this is 2 by 4. So I did 2 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. So that comes out to 4 plus 16 is 20. So c equals the square root of 20, which is about 4.47. So the perimeter for this picture is 7 plus 3 plus 2 plus, then we have these diagonal lines that we just found, 3.16 plus 4.47. If we add all that together, the perimeter is 19.63. The area for these is you just have to look for the shapes. Rectangles and squares are easy. You could count the boxes, the square units inside, or I'm just going to say we have a rectangle. The area of that rectangle would be 5 by 3. So that's 15. Then I have a big triangle.
Good afternoon, NGC. At this time, I would like to announce the winner of the March Madness book tournament that we've been having in the library, and that winner is none other than Woo Ferguson. Woo, please go to the library now to claim your prize.
And you have a small right triangle, which is 1/2. The base is 1, and the height is 3. So I got 1.5. If I total that, the total area equals 20.5. So we are doing area and perimeter today. Some of the shapes you'll have to break apart and get your own shapes out of it, and the other ones you will need to draw in the height. And for homework, you have a worksheet.